Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Carruthers, and this is our weekly Off Track with Carruthers and Bice podcast. I've got Sean with me here today, and Sean, it's rare when we have somebody on the show. It's more so for you than me because I'm not that social. But you usually know everybody in the paddock, and I don't think we know this guy, and so I'm kind of excited about having a podcast guest that we can actually ask dumb questions to, and they won't be dumb, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I know of Justin, but I don't know Justin. And I said, man, I really should get around and talk to him. And I thought, being that he's from Minnesota, I thought maybe he would be at Road America, but he'll be at a round this coming up next week at Brainerd, which is his home track. So, but yeah, Justin, you joined us. Was it last year? Was your first year?
I actually started in 2021. So I
Oh,
did I did
okay,
Brainerd and then I did Road America and I did those two rounds in 2021 and 22. And
okay.
then 23 I actually did the full season. So we did the whole stock thousand season. I didn't do any other superbike cup races besides the ones at the stock thousand round. So
Okay.
So you'll
yes.
be doing Stock Thousand Superbike Cup at Brainerd?
Yep. Yep, that's the plan. So I'm excited. We've got some improvements to the bike and that kind of thing, so I'm hoping I can do a little bit better this year, than I did last year.
Now, being your home track, is it really a home track or is it just close by? Because is it something you get to race there or ride there a lot?
Yeah, I do. I actually race with, the CRA, so it's the amateur club in this region, the Central Road Racing Association, and, I do lots of club rounds there. I've raced there since 2020, I think. And I've also or 2019 actually, and I've won a couple championships there, and I've done lots of races on all kinds of different bikes at the track. So I know the track really, really well.
So we can go ahead and call you the king of Brainerd.
King of Brainerd.
I don't know if I would say
Come,
that.
come on, you got to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah.
If
No,
Sean and
one
I say it, it's true.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
I'll
right.
take it.
Yes,
We just got to convince everybody else then, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's
they're
right.
easy.
Gosh, I don't even know, even back in the day, Paul, who we'd call the king of Brainerd back then. I mean, was there a rider? I don't know, Picard, or were any of those guys? I mean,
Eh,
Miguel did all right there, I think,
yeah,
but
Miguel did good. It was one of those racetracks really where like it was pretty wide open. There wasn't like one guy that was dominant all the time. Um, I just remember a bunch of different guys winning there, and obviously they had World Superbike there and all
so
kinds of
cool.
stuff. I
Yeah.
remember going there back in, I hate to say in the day because it makes me feel old, but I am. But I remember going there. It was always awesome.
Yeah, it's and that they would have been on the long course too then,
Yeah,
the
that's
Donnybrook
scary.
course.
That's
Yeah, I
scary
love
turn
Yeah.
one.
I love turn 1. Yeah, it's my favorite. We don't get to ride that track a lot just because it takes the whole facility then, but
Right.
that's
Yeah.
that's such a fun track.
It's funny because almost all the racers would say that about Brainerd, that they really like that big turn one that
Yep,
they used to race on, so it's
See,
cool.
see,
yep.
look at that, Justin. We already know a lot about you. We already know you carry yours around in a shopping cart because you have to have them, if you know what I'm talking about, that big to go through turn one like that. So,
Yeah,
and like it. So
yeah.
we've heard a
It
lot
ta
of riders get scared of that one. So
You don't get to be
Yep.
the king by having little ones.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that turn 1 is something. It's definitely an experience, wide open on a 600 and on a 1,000 just roll off a little bit. I mean, it's fast for sure, so it's fun though.
Okay, so we got something else to talk about. We'll get back to the racing in a minute because I wanna hear about your history and how you got started and all that. But you emailed me and there's some new sponsor coming on board,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Let's get
Oh,
that out in the open
good.
right now because it sounds like something really different.
Yeah, so I'm actually coming on this year with my company. It's the name of the company is Hydra Guys, and the team's actually going to be Hydra Guys Racing. So we do attachments for mid-sized tractors, so like kind of hobby-sized tractors. So like third point function attachments and components and valves and cylinders and everything like that. And we're
Okay, that
actually going to
means
be
nothing. I'm from Southern
yeah,
California. So
yeah. So
explain some of this stuff, like attachments to a small tractor.
yep.
What am I looking at here?
So, for an example, my dad actually, and it's kind of where I got some of the idea from. My dad has a small, like 40 horsepower, little mid-sized tractor that he uses like for hobby stuff at his little farm. Not really a farm, but just for fun. And he has all these attachments he uses, like buckets, lawn mowers, plows, things like that. And I just there's a lot of ways to improve the functionality of that. So that's basically what we're doing is we're selling kits that allow those components to go on and off the tractor easier and or use the components in a different or better way, basically.
Oh, that's
So
cool. Sean, do you have any
Yeah.
use? You have any use for that, Sean, or no?
I've got about almost 2 acres, but not quite big enough for attachments. I'm not
yep.
quite a gentleman farmer, but Justin, I know what you're talking about because my brother-in-law is a superintendent for golf courses, and I would think some of your clientele would be golf courses, wouldn't they
Yep.
be?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Golf courses, anything like that. Yep. There's a big market for that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. So does the name of the company have anything to do with the hydraulic nature of some of this stuff?
yep, exactly. Yeah, Hydra guys. So it's direct reference to hydraulics, and then
Mm.
guys, just because it's me and a partner that are doing it. So the two of us together, Hydra guys, and then that's where the idea kind of came from.
That's really cool. What a niche.
Yep.
And there are a lot of golf courses in Minnesota, aren't there?
Yep. A lot of golf courses, and then like I said, just there's a lot of people who have just the tractor for hobby stuff for their own personal use too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And snow removal in the Midwest
Right.
also. That's another big
Right.
one.
Very true.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I've spent some time going in the back part of Brainerd, and they need what you sell. Because
Yep. Yep.
if
Yep.
if they would mow the grass before we got there, it'd be a lot. You know, it'd make me happier. But that doesn't seem to happen all the time.
Yeah, they try their best, I think, but there's some things that maybe could be a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian J. Nelson, our staff photographer, I'm sure you know, Justin, brings
Yep.
his own weed whacker and clears out his own pathway around the place when he goes to that. Like a true Minnesotan would, because he's from there as well, as I'm sure you know that too.
Yep.
But that's
Yep.
cool. No, it's a cool track though with a lot of history. And when I was a kid, I used to think the reason the course or the road course was shaped like it was is because it almost looks like a B from above. Is that right? The letter B?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a B, I would say. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know who originally designed it or where they came up with it, but yeah, I would say it looks a little bit like that.
Yeah, and it's got a drag strip on it. Have you ever done the drag stuff?
Yeah, so
Oh,
the long course actually uses the drag strip. So you come out of where you would go through the carousel and you keep going and then you do turn 9 and then turn 10 and then you're wide open onto the drag strip. So you're wide open all the way down the drag strip and then that leads into turn 1, which is the fast turn 1.
And
So
that's
we
how
got
it was. That's the main reason I think we don't race on that track is because you come onto the drag strip. Because I
yep,
remember it was kind of sketchy back even in the day
yep.
when they did that. That's where Thomas Stevens passed Dave Sadowski and they both crashed, Sean,
yeah,
on
yeah.
600s.
Vance and Hines Yamahas, the
Yeah,
teammates,
wiped
even
out the whole
so.
team in
Yeah,
one
yeah,
corner.
yeah. Justin, why is your? I've been wanting to know why your team is called Nielsen Racing. What's the Nielsen part of that?
So Nielsen is Ken Nielsen. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's also has been my crew chief from the start. We originally started in 2019 together, or no, 2018 actually. Started racing at the club level, and then I won an amateur championship with him, and then we moved up to expert at the CRA level, and then won a few championships with that. And then I've also now I race with him in MotoAmerica, and he's the data guy. He's the main mechanic. He drives the truck to the rounds. He works on the bike. I mean, he does a lot for me. So that's where the Nielsen Racing comes from. That's his company.
I
So
see.
I think I don't think many people know like the difference between like privateer you versus factory Bobier, for example, right? I mean, it's like a
yeah.
true privateer effort. And what part of that is the hardest? I have a feeling it's not actually riding the bike.
Yeah. The hardest is definitely the time and then the money, the fun side of it too. So, like I kind of mentioned before, this year and in the previous years, it's been the same. It's pretty much fully funded by me and my wife for the most part. And then we do have some sponsors, but a lot of it is on us. So that's probably the hardest part of it is the time and the money. And then I have one bike. I own the bike. I have to buy all the spare parts. I mean, it's all on us. So if I make a mistake or we make a mistake as a team, then it makes it a little more difficult to come back from, I guess.
So maybe
So
the hardest part was getting the wife on board.
actually, surprisingly, she's very on board with it.
Oh,
So
that's
Oh, that's
awesome.
cool.
That makes a big
yep,
difference.
That's really
Yep.
cool.
See, he
How
looked
does
to make sure she was there.
that?
Oh
Yeah.
no.
He didn't want to get
So
smacked.
this is something I'm always fascinated with. A lot of you guys will tell a story about you'll have somebody that's been at the track with you, and it turns out that person is your crew chief, your mechanic, your data person, maybe all of the above, but not, and might have been a racer at some point, but at some point there had to be a decision made. You're going to do the racing, he's going to do the other part. How did that happen with your team? Did your guy at one time, was he a racer as well?
Yeah, yeah. Ken's actually a really good rider, and I originally started racing, and he kind of took me on board when he saw me. I'm a decent wrench on a bike. I'm pretty good at working on a bike, but I'm not maybe as not the best, and I'm definitely not as good as him. So he kind of took me under his wing initially. He was racing at the time and doing track days, and then he took me under his wing, and then actually kind of saw maybe some talent in me, and then he kind of stepped back a little too. He had kids and then was married and everything like that, so he kind of took a step back from the racing and started running the team. And besides that too, I also have all of my mechanics are also friends of mine who are also racers at the club level, and a couple of them have actually raced with MotoAmerica too besides that. So
Wow. How many are
yep.
on your crew? How many are on your team, counting you?
It kind of like changes per the round or per the year, but there's like 7 different people that
Wow.
are riders that are also mechanics or similar, and then lots of wives too, and then other people that help out.
Do any of you guys do endurance?
Yeah, we do endurance. We do the 3 hour and the 5 hour with CRA, and we do most of those races every year.
So you have a pretty good sized team. So I want to talk to you about this weird thing at Brainerd that I always end up talking to Chris Parrish and Beth Braun, his significant other, about. So normally it's the two of them, maybe one other person, and we have this thing where the starting line is not where the pits are. So they have to somehow go from the starting line over into the pits. She does. She has to bring everything over to get ready. It's probably a different situation for you because you can have people in different areas. But why is that at that track? Why is it set up that way? And do you guys do it that way in CRA?
No, for CRA, CRA, we start in the same place as Moto America. We start on the front, but we don't do the warm-up lap or the sighting lap or the on-grid stuff as much, so we don't have to deal with that.
Okay.
But Moto America makes sense just as far as the safety reason. I mean, you can't start on that front straight. It's just too tight and too small in the turn into the first turn there. So it makes
Right.
sense to start up in front of turn one, and we also start in the same spot. Yep.
So you guys just get on your bike and ride out there and start. You don't need anybody
Yep.
out there.
Yeah, we'll do just like a warm-up lap, and then you'll
Mhm.
pull up to the grid, and then we'll do a race start. So,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. Super bikes, though, they have a grid over there, don't they? So they have to have people in different each spot, or is that not true?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, they do.
Oh,
Yep.
they
They have a
do.
grid. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's tricky to do that. So Brainerd is your home track, but it's Minnesota's a pretty darn big state, so it's a ways for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 2.5 to 3 hours for us, depending on traffic and everything. So it's a decent drive, and then you have to drive through the cities because we're south of the Twin Cities. So
Right. And what other tracks do you go to in CRA, or do you personally race at?
CRA doesn't go to any other tracks. They haven't. Oh, they go to Blackhawk with like CCS. They do a dual event, but besides
Oh,
that, it's just Brainerd. And
okay.
then they'll alternate the long course and the short course. So they'll do the Donnybrook course sometimes. We haven't in the last couple of years just because of the schedule, I guess. And then
Yeah.
myself, I've ridden basically all the tracks I've done with Moto America plus Brainerd and Blackhawk Farms, basically.
You know, it's funny. We always get a pretty big charge out of the local riders, and we've seen it happen a lot of times in the past. I mean, for me, Mid Ohio is my track, so I used to be very fond of Tom Kipp because he would do well at that home track even when he was a national level racer. But even last weekend, I mean, in the past, Jason Farrell's done well at Road America, and you probably saw him racing this past weekend. Everything was going great for him up until he tried to surf on top of his motorcycle.
Yep.
It didn't quite work. But there is something to be said about a local rider who knows their way around there a little bit. You feel comfortable with that track, and that gives you a little bit of advantage, I would say, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just doing hundreds or thousands of laps around there makes a big difference. You know where all the bumps are, where all areas to avoid, where, things like that. And then just the seat time at the track, having the experience, it definitely helps and makes a big difference. I'm honestly, some people might not like this, but I wouldn't mind if it rained, honestly, at Brainerd, just because there's some other maybe unique things that somebody like myself could know just from having ridden in the rain quite a bit there too, and then having that knowledge.
Is
So
it okay in the rains, grip wise?
yeah, yeah, it's not bad. There are some spots, there's some patching. There's some patching in some of the corners to watch
Yeah,
out for,
don't
but
tell him where, because then you'll lose your
yeah.
you'll lose your advantage. I saw
uh,
that's what he was thinking. He's like, "Oh, I better not
uh,
say where they are."
it's It's pretty obvious. I think the patching's kinda easy to see for the most part, so,
Right.
yeah.
Justin, why do you choose to race in stock 1000? Is it the contingency? Is it the bike? Is it this your size? Is it your comfort on that bike? Why not Super Sport or Twins Cup or one of those other series or classes?
Kind of a combination of all that stuff you just said. Originally, we started with the ZX-10. We still have that bike. So in 2021, I bought the brand new model year ZX-10, and it had good contingency at the time for the club level, and it also had for the MotoAmerica level 2. Um, so basically that, and then my size, I'm 6 foot, right about 6 foot, and I'm heavier than not a lot, but some of the guys for sure. So the comfort level on the bike and my size and all that. And then besides that, honestly, the cost of stock 1000 is pretty comparable, or almost better, I would guess, than Super Sport. Just the Superbike Cup races are kind of like good races to get into, and we get some benefits from doing that if you place well enough. And then also, just as far as it goes for stock 1000, like my bike is completely stock. The engine's never been touched, and I haven't had to do anything to it
Mm.
since I bought it, basically. So just kind of leave it stock and ride it the way it is.
And you have a ZX10R, not a double R, correct?
Yep, just the R.
Okay. I know a couple people race that double R, but from what I hear, a lot of times you have to take most of that stuff off the bike anyway for stock, or no, if you turn it into a super bike, obviously you would. But Kawasaki's, they were so ubiquitous in that class, and now it's kind of like the BMW has supplanted it a little bit as the bike. And there's still some out there, and it's still a very legitimate bike and is a winner. But it is surprising how quickly things change, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's a great bike, but I kind of felt like I got the rug pulled out on me a little bit, just because I bought it, we put all the money into it, and I got comfortable on it. And then at the same year, a lot of people switched to BMWs, and then the following year is even more, and then the Suzuki a little bit too, and now it's the Honda. The
Yeah,
Honda's
The
because
doing
Honda,
really well in that
yes.
class. Yeah, that contingency in the Honda makes me want to buy one almost. So
and
Yeah.
they pay pretty good at Club Race or no?
yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure they pay better than Cowie does. I could be wrong on that, but I think they pay better than Cowie.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a pretty sweet deal, especially if you're Moto America stock 1000 getting top fives or wins like De Silva
Yeah.
and Gillum have been doing. So
I think
Yeah.
there's
Gillum's gonna be the richest guy in the paddock before long.
yeah, really, it's quite the opportunity for him for sure.
Yeah, it's
So
good to see them get on board like that, because
Yeah.
that
yep,
kinda reminds you of the old days when all the companies used to do pretty good contingency, and it helped everybody.
yep, it makes a
So,
difference.
Justin, in CRA, who is your biggest competitor or nemesis on the hyper or the leader bikes? And are they racing also this next weekend?
Um, Probably would be biggest competitor would be like Jake Schmatter, and then
Yes.
also he does race. He has raced with Moto America. I don't think he's racing this
I don't
coming
think he
weekend.
is. No, he's not on the
Um,
list. Right.
but yeah, he's been competitive. Me and him go back and forth quite a bit when we're out there. And then also another good friend of mine, PR Staffke.
Yes.
He's on the list for this weekend, and he's also on the team this year at the amateur level. So he'll be racing. We'll be out there racing together. But that's it as far as the leader bikes at CRA, I guess that those two guys pretty much.
Yeah, it's funny with I had seen PR Staffke on the list, and I need to meet him and talk to him to find out what the PR stands for, because I'm like, wow, that's kind of interesting. Do you
I,
know?
it's just you might get mad. I think it's just his name. It's just a shortened version basically
Okay.
of his first name. And then
Okay.
I'd be in trouble too if I didn't mention Shane Kevney. He's also
Okay.
another. He's been around CRA for quite a while, so he's another
Okay.
guy that's quick on the leader bikes.
That's cool. Yeah. So, by the way, you remind me of something. I owe our listeners and you, Justin, and anybody else an apology. I have been publishing the entries in a story, and I should have had it done by now, but I'm planning to get it done on Monday. And I apologize to everybody that I didn't get that done yet. I'm a little under the weather, but feeling better now. Plus, we just came off a barber, God, not even barber. It was
Road
Road
America.
America, Road America. So, anyway, I'm going to get that out on Monday. I should have done a little sooner so people could see it. So my apologies about that. We'll get that taken care
You're
of. But
fired.
yeah, but I have seen it ahead of time, and of course, I definitely saw Justin and PR staff key on there. So that's good stuff. Good.
Okay, so I want to know, how did all this get started? A lot of times we find it's, somebody's dad races, or somebody's dad raced, or at least rode motorcycles, and you kind of picked it up from there. But have you been doing this stuff since you were a kid?
Yeah, I've been riding motorcycles since I was a kid. First bike was a PW50 when I was very young, like 5 years old. My uncle actually showed up one day with it. So a lot of time on the dirt bikes, I started racing. I did a little bit of motocross racing, not a lot, and some flat track stuff. And then mostly what I did from about 10 years old and on was hill climbing and then trail riding stuff. And in 2016, actually, I got into track days. I bought a street bike because I quit riding on the street because you can do unwise things on the street on a street bike. And then, so I got into track days, and as soon as I got into the track days, I was hooked. And then I went out to do the CRA stuff, and it was kind of game over from there. So that's kind of how it progressed, I guess.
Did it come pretty easy?
Uh, the dirt bikes always came somewhat easy, but as soon as I started riding a road bike, I noticed it right away. It felt natural, and did feel like I had a little bit of a natural talent for it. I really enjoy it too, so I mean that helps for sure.
Do you still train on dirt bikes?
Yeah, I still train on dirt bikes, mostly just turn track stuff. I've got a WR 450, and I just
Perfect.
do like circle track and kind of trail stuff basically.
Keep the wheels on the ground.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Exactly. The jumping, what goes up must come down. So
Yeah.
Justin, I'm a huge fan of Jeremy Martin. I love that kid. Actually, you know who I like a lot too. I've thrown this out there and I've aged myself immediately every time, but I'm going to do it again, Paul. I used to be a huge fan of Donnie Schmidt. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was a MXGP guy at
Factory
one time.
Suzuki.
Yeah, love that kid so much. And he unfortunately passed years ago, but he started to get into road racing too. He made the transition, and he even said the same thing too, that he just felt like he was more of a natural for it. So after all he did, in Supercross and GP worldwide, so it's cool.
yeah, for
So,
sure. I've heard the name before, and then Jeremy Martin I know too very well. So I think the transition from dirt bikes of any kind to road racing, I mean, it seems like it translates very well when you're used to the bike moving and used to it
Not having any
doing
traction
things. Yep. Yep. And then you get on a road bike and it's like, oh, here's grip. I have grip.
for a
So
bit.
yeah, for a bit until you don't. Yep.
Yeah.
what really amazes me about the stock 1000 class, Justin, is it is what it says. It is a stock class. There are a few things you can do, brakes and stuff like that. You can't change forks or triple clamps, swing arm, but these bikes come with a pretty sophisticated suite of electronics stock. You don't have like the ECUs that the superbike guys have, but you still have to have a grasp of data knowledge and understanding how to set the bike up with these, some of the maps and stuff. So isn't that true that, I mean, stock 1000, it's still fairly sophisticated racing?
Yeah, for sure. And the bikes come stock with pretty good electronics and everything like that. But we actually have the kit ECU, which is allowed in the stock 1000. And the kit ECU gives you a lot more control over traction control, wheelie control, and you can control that at lean angle. There's launch control that can be adjusted.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
we actually this year just got true data, so we can record suspension travel, speed, lean angle, and we can have all that data and actually look at it on an overlay and start start digging through it. We haven't done a lot with that yet because it's brand new to us this year. But as far as electronics go on the bike, we've dove into that a lot, and that's where Ken, my crew chief's, also helped out a lot. He's got a computer at the racetrack, and he said too he thinks he spent more time on a computer working on the bike than he's actually spent working on the bike as a mechanic.
It makes
So
sense.
there's
Yeah.
definitely some truth to it.
Yeah, those guys
Yeah.
have turned into the most valuable guy in the team, those computer guys, because there's just not a ton of them that really know their stuff.
Yeah, it's really niche. It's a very niche thing. So
Yeah.
The bummer part is the excuses of the bike not working very good just go out the window because they can show you, right? Like, I think that's your fault, not the bike's
yeah,
fault.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially with the data recording. Now they can actually just point to it on the graph and see it.
Right.
That's right. So, you will do this round. There are only 5 stock 1000 rounds, counting Barber and this one. So there are only 3 after this one. Will you do the rest of them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would love to do Mid Ohio. I can't even. Is that they're going to Mid Ohio, right? Stock 1000 will be at Mid Ohio, I think.
I
Boy,
think
you
so.
put us on the
I don't know.
spot. I think so.
See, I
I
didn't
th-
know either.
no,
Yeah.
I think so because Twins Cup isn't going to be at Mid Ohio, so it's
Okay.
probable that Stock 1000 is going to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to do Mid Ohio. I don't know if it's going to work out with schedule wise, and then also just funds and everything. Like I said, we did that full season last year, and that was kind of like that was a big commitment. It was awesome, and it was a great experience. But trying to just recoup a little bit, maybe set up something for next year, like try to come back for a full season next year.
Yeah.
So if it pisses down rain at Brainerd and you win, are you still going to not go to the end of the others?
We'll see. I don't if I win if I win a race, then I might consider something.
All
Yeah.
right. We'll hold you
Ju-
to that.
Yeah.
what do you do for a day job, Justin?
So my day job, I'm actually a CNC machinist and in programming. So I do some design work, and then I program CNC machines to make all kinds of different parts out of metals, plastics, everything like that. And that's kind of where my business comes out of too. So I have the ability and the knowledge and my own machine to be able to do that on the side too, kind of for now. So
Do
the
you
day
make
job's a
any
machinist.
you make any stuff for your bike?
Yeah, I've actually made some rotors, like brake
Wow.
rotors. I've made some other little components. I thought about getting into the bike space and creating bike components too. I might do that in the future, but for now I'm just focusing on that other thing, the tractors for now. So,
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
yep.
Maybe you can get what is that Mahindra?
My
They
inter- yeah,
we need Mahindra in
but
MotoAmerica.
the tractor that one of the main tractors I have made the kits for is Mahindra.
I
Oh, that's
figured
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and gosh, they're big in GP stuff, so that'd be cool to have them
Yep.
over here.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool. It's a good idea. Maybe I'll reach out to him.
There you
Yeah,
go.
definitely do it. Are there are manufacturers? Gosh, I mean, Paul, this is crazy. I could get down a rabbit hole with this, but I mean, there's a lot of tractor manufacturers in Minnesota, aren't there, Justin? I mean, at one time there was Minneapolis Moline. I think John Deere is pretty
Yep.
involved up there.
Yep.
There are a lot of manufacturers, aren't there?
Yeah, for sure. Even just between Minnesota and Wisconsin, there's John Deere, Case, I mean, there's a lot of them in the area, especially just it's a big farming community too. Southern Minnesota has a lot of farmland and everything. So yep,
Yeah.
there's a lot.
You have absolutely no accent at all.
No accent, really.
No. Do
A
people think?
little.
I could try and turn it on if you want. You
Yeah.
betcha.
No,
Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly.
There you
No,
go.
some people I just hear it. I don't really hear it in Brian J. Nelson too much either, but every once in a while I hear it from certain people. So,
Yep.
but that's cool. So is there, you talked about Nielsen, you talked about your company. So anything else you want to get across before you let you go here? Anything else you want to talk about?
Not a lot. I guess I'd just give a shout out to all the local people and all the local CRA racers and all the volunteers that help out at the racetrack. And I think there's a lot of good volunteers from Brainerd that help out with the MotoAmerica rounds and stuff too. So a shout out to them, and just I'm excited for the round, and I really hope, I mean, a podium would be awesome. That's really what I'm hoping for, and I hope I can make that happen, I guess. Yep.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue, Justin, because I did want to talk about this a little bit. We did a call to action and had a online presentation this week that we do need volunteers for Brainerd. I think we may still, but hopefully we got some more after the other day. But if you would talk for a minute about what your feelings about our volunteer staff and corner workers. I mean, to every rider I've ever spoken to, you guys know the importance of corner workers and how it's kind of the lifeblood of what you do. It keeps you guys going. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're there for you in some of the best and some of the worst moments. So like they're there when you go down and crash. They're out there risking their lives in a sense too. They're spending their time, they're into the sport and they enjoy watching you. I mean, the commitment that a corner worker and all the volunteers have to do it's hard to appreciate it enough and say how much it means because it doesn't happen without those guys and girls. And like I said, the CRA guys and girls it's all a volunteer organization there, so they're completely on their own time and dime for the amateur stuff. But the MotoAmerica staff too has been amazing. I've never had any issues, and they've always been above and beyond what I could expect. So they're quite the group of people.
Well said.
Very well
Thank
said.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. All right, so we'll look for you next week. We'll make sure we say hello to you and wish you well for the weekend, and we'll look for the local hood to make good. I can call you a hood. I didn't really mean to say that, but anyway. Okay.
Just don't call him late for dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a
Thank
good
you.
weekend. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.